This podcast is part of the Everyday Heroes Podcast Network, the network for first responders and those who support them.
Well, back to school, back to scissors and scrubs.
Thank God, back
Fresh
to school.
off vacation. We're all back to work.
Yep.
Back to school. So, are you looking at Facebook with all of the parents sending their kids back to college?
Yes, it's constant.
So I see my cousin and I see two of my cousins, my cousin and my sister-in-law. And I was like, how's it going? Both of them like, we moved them in and the next day we get calls. They're crying. They want to come home. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. She's, oh, no, we're not going to. But I'm just laughing because, you see all these pictures. They're all so happy in their dorm and they're all calling the next day how miserable they are.
Because it sucks to live in a dorm. It sucks to live
Never
in a dorm.
did it.
It's disgusting. I did it for one semester. I hated it. There's other people's dirt everywhere. It was disgusting. I felt dirty the whole, I showered like twice a day. You have to wear shoes in the shower. How clean are you if you have to wear shoes in your shower? It's disgusting. I hate it. I hated it.
Well, Laura,
I don't
is
blame them.
exactly what brings us to what we're going to talk about today, dorm living and how disgusting it is.
Ugh.
And one of the major side effects of dorm living, meningitis.
Lovely.
Meningitis.
Mm-hmm.
Today's episodes are going to cover viral and bacterial meningitis and the vaccines you can get for them, which all of a sudden in 2020 and 2021 vaccines have become the Antichrist. All of a sudden we don't want to vaccinate anybody for anything. Yeah. We're just going to live free or die. And so we're going to talk about bacterial meningitis, viral meningitis, and all that therein, which is nasty ass diseases. Yeah. So take it away.
All right. I did viral meningitis. Not as exciting.
Well, I took the exciting one this time.
I got all this information from cdc.gov. Viral meningitis is the most common type.
Yes.
It is caused by viruses such as the enterovirus, which is like your stomach bug. Mm-hmm. That's the most common cause of viral meningitis.
Really?
Yep. The mumps virus, the measles virus, the herpes virus, which includes Epstein-Barr, varicella zoster, which is your chickenpox and shingles, and herpes simplex.
Again, for the 400th time, I'm going to say, doing this podcast, I learned so much because I always thought meningitis was its own virus.
No.
But bacterial, the same thing. It spawns from another virus, which I never knew.
Influenza virus. Arboviruses, which are like West Nile viruses that are carried from bugs and mosquitoes, and lymphocytic choriomeningitis virus, which I'll tell you how you get that, and it's disgusting.
That sounds like something to do with the babies.
No.
Choreo?
No, you would think, right?
Yeah, no.
It's disgusting.
It sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Your face alone's telling me it's gross.
Risk factors for getting viral meningitis. People at any age can develop this. Mm-hmm. But children under 5 and immunocompromised people are most at risk for developing viral meningitis. You contract viral meningitis by coming in close contact with someone with viral meningitis, although only a small number of people infected with the virus will end up getting viral meningitis. Okay. So if I had viral meningitis and I was sharing a drink with you and blah, 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 and I got sick the next day.
But I would.
You might get the bug that is the virus that I have, but you will probably not develop the meningitis.
Because I'm wicked strong with my immune system.
So you can get it that way, but you don't usually convert to the meningitis if you get it. How do you get enteroviruses?
I'd love to know.
Enteroviruses spread through feces, eye, nose, and mouth secretions, and blister fluid, which I had no idea.
That's gross.
Did you know your enteroviruses lived in your blister fluid?
No, and why am I even touching or drinking or being anywhere near somebody's blister fluid? That's so gross.
So you get enterovirus by coming in close contact, like shaking hands with an infected person.
Who's got a ruptured blister on their hand. Yeah. Imagine.
Drinking water that has the virus in it, changing someone's diaper that's infected, and then touching your eyes, nose, and mouth before washing your hands. Why, if you're changing a diaper, would you ever do that?
Because you're I don't know. Weird.
Sleep deprived, maybe? I don't know.
You're not educated. I don't know.
Or touching an object that an infected person touched, and then touching your eyes, nose, and mouth before washing hands. So key here, wash your goddamn hands and stop touching your fucking faces. God almighty.
Stop touching your fucking faces.
Stop touching. So the measles, mumps, herpes, influenza, they're all kind of spread the same way. It's spread through saliva and respiratory droplets. So it can spread by coughing, sneezing, talking, sharing cups, food, and by playing sports, dancing, kissing, like anything that you're going to be breathing near somebody that has these.
You know, you're brushing your teeth in the dorm next to 40 other people who are brushing their teeth in the dorm, and you're all sharing cups because you're in this little tiny room.
And you're in like frat parties where you're just drinking out of what God knows what. And,
and then kissing some random dude.
Oh, yeah. Arboviruses are spread through bug bites, especially mosquitoes.
Oh, those squeaks.
Lymphocytic choriomeningitis is spread by coming in contact with fresh urine, dropping, saliva, or nesting materials of infected rodents. That includes your household goddamn hamsters and whatever else rodents you keep as pets in cage, which is disgusting. And then you take them out with your hands and you grab them out of all that nesting material, and that has all the poop and pee in it.
They're covered in their own poop
and pee. They're covered in their own poop and pee. You're holding them in your face. It's disgusting.
I wish you could see her face.
Don't get rodents as pets. It's disgusting.
Didn't think this episode was going to be as disgusting as it is. I'm not going to lie.
It's nasty. Don't get rodents as pets. Oh, God. I can't. I don't know. So symptoms of viral meningitis.
I'd love to know them after we've gone through all the disgusting ways you can get it.
In babies, it will present as fever, irritability, poor eating, sleepiness, or trouble waking and lethargy.
Isn't that literally every fucking
Pretty
thing
much,
baby does?
Yeah.
Okay.
In children and adults, they get a fever, a headache, a stiff neck. The stiff neck is
classic.
Classic, and you can't put your chin to your chest. I remember Jack always has had wicked headaches. And once in a while he'd get a fever with it, or Sam would get a fever and a headache, and I'd say, put your chin to your chest. And they're like, what? I'm like, put your chin to your chest. And they'd be like, okay. I'm like, you can do that? And they're like, yep. I'm like, okay, fine. Like that.
Well, it's not meningitis.
Right. You
could be anything else, but it's not meningitis.
It's not a stiff. You can move your head side to side. You can tilt it back. Those are all fine. It's the chin to the chest.
Because meningitis, real quick, the term meningitis is the inflammation of the tissue surrounding the brain and the spinal cord.
Yes.
So when they get inflamed, as you can imagine, because it's covering your nervous system, everything goes haywire. And so if your spinal cord's inflamed, you can't bend it to touch your chin to your neck.
It hurts.
It hurts a lot.
Yeah, I had that written, and then I rewrote this, and then I didn't put that in, apparently.
Too, so we'll probably cover it again, because God forbid I go off script, so.
All right. Stiff neck for children and adults. Photophobia, which is like it's really hard to look at lights. Sleepiness, nausea, irritability, vomiting, lack of appetite, and lethargy. Most people recover in 7 to 10 days. From viral meningitis with really no treatments.
So, and again, not that we have to explain it, but we're going to. Viral it's a virus, which are different than bacteria. Viruses reproduce through your cells, through the RNA and stuff, so they're fought differently than bacteria, which just makes more of itself in your little colonies of your body.
Colonies and bacteria.
Yes.
How do you diagnose viral meningitis? They might swab your nose and throat, they'll take stool samples, they'll take blood samples, and they will take a spinal tap or a lumbar puncture. So they're swabbing you and taking these samples to see what virus you have in you, because you have one of these enteroviruses or flu or
the meningitis.
Herpes that's causing it.
You a lovely viral meningitis.
Yes. The treatment for viral meningitis, you treat the symptoms. So you have a headache, you have a fever, you take Tylenol. You're just treating the symptoms here. Some people who have it because of influenza or herpes can receive antivirals, because there are actually antiviral drugs for some of these, but most viruses do not have antiviral drugs.
You have to let them run their course.
Yep. Obviously, babies get really sick from this because they're so lethargic they won't eat, so they get dehydrated, they get weak, they get sick, and obviously immunocompromised people, any virus you get is going to go haywire, so they might need IV fluids and further treatments. So prevention for viral meningitis. So I'm going to go into vaccines later, but there's no vaccines for the enteroviruses, which are the most common cause of viral meningitis. So to prevent those, wash your goddamn hands. Literally wash your hands.
We could prevent a lot of stuff if everybody
wash your hands.
I'm still this day and age watching people go to the bathroom and walk
not wash their hands. It's disgusting. Avoid close contact with people who are ill. Clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces. High touch areas. And now I think with
as I'm touching my face.
I know. I think with COVID now though, like people That's like a common thing now. That's a high touch area. You gotta really clean that. That's a high touch area. Like anything you touch it on, your counters, your fridge, your doorknobs.
Yeah.
Wash them down. Like clean stuff. And stay home when you are sick. And keep your kids home when they are sick. Do not send them. If they don't feel good, stay home.
Yeah.
Avoid bug bites. Use bug spray.
How do you avoid bug bites?
Use
like
bug
you don't
spray.
even yeah, but I
know.
mean
Long pants and long shirts if you're out camping at night. You know,
it's not
anything
like I see those
you would-
fuckers coming.
My cousin wears like net pants, like over her shorts.
That's actually a good idea.
Because she gets like when she gets bit by a mosquito, it's oh my god, the welts
That's
in her
actually a
son
really
gets the
good
same
idea,
thing.
though.
So they wear these like because it's hot.
Like
You're out
mosquito
camping in like
pants.
August, but it's like net pants that you just put over your shorts, so it still gets the
Do they
air
work?
in. Yeah, it still lets the air in, but they're not getting
I
bitten
would
by
be
bugs.
covered head to toe in it.
Yeah, they're bizarre, but they work apparently. But that's to prevent all that lymphocytic choreo meningitis. Control your rodents. Clean using proper techniques when they're in your home. So if you had
Don't have them in your home.
don't have them as
unless
pets.
they're
right
like
there.
mice, and then you're gonna kill them anyway.
Right. And so if they're your pets, make sure when you're cleaning, you're wearing gloves. You're discarding the stuff properly. There's
Rodents
all
are vectors of
oh
infection.
my god, they carry everything.
Carry everything.
So follow like proper cleaning techniques when you're cleaning up after rodents. If you have an infestation in your house, get somebody in there.
to clean it properly.
Don't just sweep the mouse poop because that's just going to get in the air. You're going to breathe it in. There's a certain way to clean up after rodents. I'm not going through it, but look it up. It's and get vaccinated against influenza, measles, mumps, and chickenpox. If you get vaccinated against these, you can't get them.
You can write
and
to me
then
all
you
day
won't
long,
get it.
and I will never not defend vaccines.
Right?
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
If you just get those vaccines, you can't get those viruses. So it's great.
Yep. It's amazing what those vaccines can do.
And that's pretty much viral meningitis.
Oh, viral
You
meningitis.
usually recover about a week or so.
Let it run its course, like most viruses. Well, Laura, continuing on the CDC thread, we're going to go to viral meningitis' like nasty ass cousin.
Yeah.
Living in deep in meth country. It's bacterial meningitis. This shit's
Nasty.
no joke. It's no joke.
No.
And it comes on quick and it kills quick.
Mm-hmm.
So bacterial meningitis, I explained earlier, it's the inflammation because I don't want to go off script.
No.
You know, it's early in the morning. Mike's back on his suck-ass schedule that I hate, which means we're recording this at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Who records at 10 o'clock in the morning?
It's terrible.
Mike. So I can't go off script, so you're going to hear it again. All right, so it's an inflammation of the membranes that protect the brain and spinal cord, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
And there are several types of bacterial meningitis because, like viral meningitis, it is spawning from another infection, another bacteria, actually. So we have Streptococcus pneumonia, bacterial meningitis, Group B strep, bacterial meningitis, Neisseria meningitis, TB meningitis, Haemophilus influenza, H. influenza, Listeria monocytogenes, and E. coli meningitis. Blah, blah, blah. Many of them can lead to serious infection and death, and death can occur in just about a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
The mortality rate for somebody infected with bacterial meningitis is as high as 10 to 20% with treatment.
Jesus.
Survivors may have major issues after the illness, like loss of limbs, deafness, seizures, brain damage, and learning disabilities. So when we're talking more about colleges, we're talking more about the serogroup B meningococcal. It accounts for more than half the cases among 16 to 20-year-olds, which is late high school, college age. The bacterial meningitis that affects, so I'm going to get into the types and the age groups they affect. I'll get into other stuff, and then I'll go back to the bacterial meningitis. They're kind of all over the place, okay? So newborns are prone to Group B, S. pneumonia, the Listeria, I'm just going to call it the Listeria because I can't even pronounce the last part of that one, and E. coli. Babies and young children are susceptible to S. pneumonia, the Neisseria meningitis, H. influenza, the Group B, and the TB one. Teens and young adults are the Neisseria meningitis and the pneumonia one. I mean, these words, Latin, really? Didn't they know it was going to be a dead language?
I don't know why. I mean...
So when I keep abbreviating, it's because I can't say it. So older adults, we have the S. pneumonia, we have the meningitis, Neisseria meningitis, the H. influenza, the Group B, and the Listeria one. So, risk factors are the age. Babies are at an increased risk for bacterial meningitis compared to people in other age groups. However, people any age can develop bacterial meningitis. A group setting, infectious disease tends to spread where large groups of people gather. For example, college campuses. They report outbreaks of meningococcal disease caused by the N meningitis. So as you know, people living in little tight spaces, it's disgusting. You're going to get meningitis.
Yeah. And they don't know how to clean.
And they're all like, you're just trying to fit in and everything. So somebody's like, here, use my toothbrush. You're like, okay, blah, and you just, blah. Certain medical conditions, medications, and surgical procedures put people at an increased risk for meningitis. For example, having an HIV infection or a CSF leak, cerebral fluid leak, it's too early to come up with these words, and not having a spleen can increase a person's risk for several types of bacterial meningitis. Working with meningitis-causing pathogens. Microbiologists routinely exposed to meningitis-causing bacteria are at an increased risk.
I bet.
I would think so. Geez, if I'm working with AIDS, I'm probably going to get AIDS. Travelers may be at an increased risk from meningococcal disease caused by the N meningitis if they travel to certain places, such as, again, we're back in sub-Saharan Africa.
Oh.
I don't think I want to go back to sub-Saharan Africa, particularly during the dry season. Mecca during the annual Hajj and Umrah pilgrimage. No, I did not say those wrong.
It's probably there's just so many people there.
Yes, I would think. In many cultures, TB is much more common than the United States, so travelers should avoid close contact or prolonged time with TB patients. Don't go to those sanitariums.
No.
Visit your friends. Okay. How does it spread? Well, certain germs that cause bacterial meningitis, such as the Listeria one, can spread through food. So Listeria is also the bacteria that pregnant women have to watch out for. It's the one that's in uncooked veggies and stuff. It can be in your cold cuts. Didn't stop me from eating subs.
No, Italian subs.
Constant do I love those. But most of these germs spread from one person to another. They spread it depends on the type of bacteria. It's also important to know that people can have these bacteria in or on their bodies without being sick. So like strep B, pneumococcal, I think it is. Strep B, whatever that one is. The one that gives you strep throat, that gives you major infections.
You can just have it.
It lives on your skin. Yeah. And the problem is when it goes from your skin into your bloodstream somehow, it's like deadly when it gets in you.
Sometimes I know there's been things in the operating room, like not our but in other operating rooms, where there's been outbreaks of strep in patients. And they have to go around and they test the OR staff.
Oh,
because someone is a carrier. Yeah. And they don't know and they're giving it.
Like a lot of that flesh-eating bacteria, the necrotizing fasciitis, it's strep B that was introduced through like a surgical incision and went haywire in there. It's not a nice bacteria, but our skin can deal with it. All right, where did I leave off there? Okay. So some people can carry it and not get sick, and they're known as carriers. Bum, bum, bum. Most carriers never become sick, but can still spread the bacteria to others. Most common example of how people spread each type of bacteria. All right, yes, I am reading from a sheet of paper, so don't judge, okay? Because it was just too long to write. Group B, strep and E. coli. Mothers can pass these bacteria to their babies during birth. H. influenza, tuberculosis, S. pneumonia. People spread this by coughing and sneezing while in close contact to others who breathe in the bacteria. So I'm laying in bed. I'm hawking up a loogie, and my roommate's 2 feet away from me. And meningitis. People spread these bacteria by sharing respiratory or throat secretions, saliva, or spit. Again, I'm coughing in my dorm room that's the size of my closet.
I don't want to share
and there's 4 of us in there.
Anybody.
Exactly.
That sounds so...
This typically occurs during close coughing or kissing, or lengthy living together contact, like in a dorm. E. coli. People get these bacteria, as we all know, through poop, which may be prepared by people who did not wash their food, which is prepared by people who did not wash their hands well after using the toilet. It all goes back to Typhoid Mary, cooking for everybody.
Yeah.
Wasn't washing her hands before she was making up that peach sorbet. So people who get the E. coli and the Listeria are getting that from the contaminated food. Okay. Signs and symptoms thereof meningitis. I'm making sure I didn't overshoot what I was supposed to be reading. Okay. So signs and symptoms are fever, headache, and stiff neck. It's almost identical to viral. So the only way they're going to know is when they do a spinal tap. Other symptoms are nausea, vomiting, photophobia, altered mental status. So when your nervous system is jacked up because it's sick, you can't look at light. It's going to hurt everything. You're slow or inactive. You're irritable. You vomit. You feed poorly. You have bulging fontanelles if you're a little tiny baby. And you have abnormal reflexes. If you think your baby or child has any of these symptoms, immediately go to the emergency room. Typical symptoms of bacterial meningitis develop 3 to 7 days after exposure. It's not the rule for TB meningitis, which can happen way later. And people with bacterial meningitis can start having seizures. They can go into a coma and die. And this is like bold. So for the CDC to put a bold, anyone who thinks they may have meningitis should see a doctor as soon as possible. Bump, bump, bump. So why do we talk about this today? Well, we talk about it because kids are going back to college.
Everybody's moving back in.
And Laura's going to get into it. There are vaccines for these. And you have to make sure you get the right vaccine, and you have to make sure you get the doses you need for that. So according to a 2000 CDC study, college freshmen are 7 times more likely to get meningitis than other college students. And I would assume because after you've been living in this filth for a while, you're building up antibodies to it. It's an even higher risk for those living in dorms. It occurred 9 to 23 times more frequent in students living in dorms over those who were living in other accommodations.
Wow.
Why, Laura?
Because there's a million of them packed in there?
Because
like
of how it's spread. Exactly. It requires shared respiratory and throat secretions. So when you're at the frat parties and everybody's sipping from the same fucking punch bowl and moving cups around and you're drunk and then you're making up with the guy next door and then you go home and you're hacking it up in your dorm room and your friggin' dorm person's up in your bunk bed above you. It's really disgusting. Okay. Close and lengthy contact is generally considered necessary. Dr. Sanhar, there's a doctor. She's quoted, when you are in a situation with a whole bunch of people who are sharing items like cups, water bottles, lipsticks, or engaged in unhygienic behavior, I don't want to know what that could be, it magnifies the risk. Roughly 1 in 10 people can be carriers of N meningitis and have no symptoms, being unknown carriers. Okay. So the meningitis that specifically hits the college students is the N meningitis. And it can start like the flu, but it gets worse pretty quick. We already went through meningitis. What happens is the meningococcal bacteria enters the bloodstream and it reproduces and it starts causing damage to the blood vessel walls. This leads to bleeding into the skin and organs, which means you'll get severe pain, and a lot of them have a dark purple rash associated with it. If the doctor is suspecting meningitis, they're going to take your blood and they're going to do cerebrospinal fluid samples, which is a spinal tap, to find the specific meningitis that you have. Treatment is to get on antibiotics ASAP, 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 ASAP. So now I'm going to discuss a couple of statistics of people who had said bacterial meningitis. Okay. In 2013 to 2016, 5 college campuses experienced outbreaks of the serogroup B meningococcal disease. Santa Clara University, 3 cases of, I'm just going to say bacterial meningitis because I'm not going to get into it, occurred at the university from January to February. University of Oregon, 7 cases occurred at the university. 1 student died. Providence College, 2 cases of the bacterial meningitis occurred within a week of the Providence College in early February of 2015. All the students survived, and there have been no further cases, potentially due to rapid action taken by the college to get the students vaccinated quickly. Princeton University, which I'm going to elaborate a little more. Here, Princeton University, 9 cases of the meningitis occurred and were associated to an outbreak at Princeton University from March 2013 through March 2014. So in like 1 year, 9 cases came out. That is, so I kind of talk about that briefly in this one as well. It was serotype B meningococcal. It led to the health department stopping in starting vaccinations on the campus immediately.
No.
So in March of 2014, Stephanie Ross, who is a 19-year-old from Drexel University, she contacts it and she dies. She gets it from a kid at Princeton and she dies. And they were able to, through blood samples, link it. It's the exact same type of bacteria that was being spread at Princeton. The University of California, Santa Barbara, 4 cases of meningitis occurred in 1 month at the university in late 2013. They were connected to one that had occurred on the campus 7 months earlier. So
wow,
it hung
like
around
it lived
for,
around.
so somebody carried that around for 7 months. All of the students survived. One male lacrosse player had to have both feet amputated.
Ugh.
All universities held emergency clinics to administer the vaccine to all undergraduate students and certain graduate students and faculty to help stop the outbreak. In 2015, outbreaks occurred just months after the U.S. Food, Drug, and Administration approved 2 vaccines to protect against it. That was the Providence College and the University College. In Princeton, it got into how the vaccines they were giving weren't helping, so they had to import a vaccine from Europe that they were using, but it wasn't tested. But I didn't really want to get into that.
Yeah.
Then it said in 2008 through 2011, there were more outbreaks on college campuses, and then it gets into the things. So, I have multiple stories of bacterial meningitis.
Okay.
Do you want to get into your vaccines
Yeah, I'll do
and
that
first?
stuff.
Yeah.
So, there is not a vaccine for viral meningitis because it's a different beast.
Mm-hmm.
There is a vaccine for bacterial meningitis. There are actually 2 available in the U.S. God help me with these words. So there's
Latin.
the Meningococcal Conjugate, and it's a longer name, but I'm just leaving it at that. Meningococcal Conjugate, which protects against serogroups A, C, W, and Y. So there's different serogroups for all these meningitises. So the conjugate protects against A, C, W, and Y. Then there's serogroup B meningococcal vaccines, which protect against those and serogroup B. The CDC recommends the conjugate vaccine for all preteens and teens 11 to 12 years old with the booster at 16.
I think my kids have had it.
So you get it. You get the shots between 11 and 12 and then a booster at 16. And that booster at 16 is critical in maintaining protection, especially because you're getting to be 16. That age where you're sharing everything, you're going to live at college, you're going to live in groups. You need that booster at 16 to continue the protection. And they also recommend the conjugate vaccines for children and adults at increased risk from meningococcal disease. The conjugate is also recommended for children 2 months to 10 years old with HIV, complement component deficiency.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't. If they're taking complement inhibitors, if they have a damaged or no spleen, if they're traveling or live in countries where the disease is common.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 months to 10 years old will get the conjugate vaccine if they have any of those risk factors. Then the serogroup B vaccine is 2 doses between the ages of 16 and 23 for non-high risk people. You can be given the serogroup B in 2 to 3 doses.
And you have to make sure you get all the doses. You
Yes.
can't half-ass a vaccine.
Because it won't work.
Right.
So you can be given the serogroup B vaccine in 2 to 3 doses for 10 years old or
Okay.
up,
All right.
if you are high risk. So you get it 2 months to 10 years. You get the conjugate one if you're high risk, and then 10 years up you get the Sero B if you're high risk. The Sero B vaccine can be given to anyone, but it is recommended especially for people with rare immune disorder called the complement component deficiency. It's this really rare disease, but if you have it, you should get the Sero B vaccine. If you're taking meds called complement inhibitors, so it's the same kind of list as the 2 month to 10-year-olds, have no spleen or your damaged spleen. If you are a microbiologist routinely exposed to the and meningitis, or a part of a population identified to be at increased risk because of a serogroup B meningococcal disease outbreak. So if you were at college, there's this serogroup B outbreak, you are going to get this serogroup B vaccine. So
the thing is too, of course I'm losing my train of thought here. What I was going to say. Oh, when you hear these stories of what these people go through, get these vaccines.
yes, it's not worth.
And most of these stories are earlier in the 2000s because we've been vaccinating now.
Right.
So you're not seeing these outbreaks of meningitis on campus.
You used to hear about it every year.
All the
every
time.
fall. Or high schools
Yep.
with the football teams or the soccer teams, they share the water bottles. There would
Yep.
be an outbreak of thing. You would hear these all the time. These kids are sick.
They're
You
sick
lose
and they
limbs.
die. I mean,
you
they
die.
name them. Exactly.
It's a life-changing
So,
illness.
It's another example towards science of how these vaccines work.
Right.
And like I have quite a few stories, and all of them are taking place before 2015. So I know my pediatrician has been pushing it recently. When I say recently, it's probably about 2015. Like, make sure you get your kids vaccinated. Whatever she recommends, I do it. I don't clearly vaccinate my kids for ridiculous stuff. I wouldn't be like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't want to see my kid on a respirator with black hands and black feet because of bacterial meningitis when I could have stopped it.
Right.
Okay.
It used to be every fall you would hear of an outbreak, and now, knock on wood, you haven't been hearing it because of the vaccines have been up.
Exactly.
So then I went into the how you mentioned the hands and feet turn black.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really go into that. So it's meningococcal septicemia. In severe cases of bacterial meningitis, you can get meningococcal septicemia.
Mm-hmm.
And septicemia is blood poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's caused by tons of bacteria multiplying in your blood. That bacteria just multiplies and multiplies and multiplies and multiplies.
And it gets thick.
Yes. And a person is so ill when they have septicemia because they are fighting the bacteria they've had. And now it's multiplying by like the gazillions.
And they can't keep up.
And it's releasing all these toxins. So every time that multiplies, it's releasing more and more toxins. So your body's fighting the bacteria. It's fighting the toxins.
Mm-hmm.
It's fighting the multiplication. You are dying when you have septicemia.
Your body can only do so much.
Yeah. You never want to hear that your patient is septic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fight.
Septic happens in the blink of an eye.
Oh my God.
They
They're
go
fine, and crump.
Then they're septic. And as soon as somebody's like, oh, my mom's in the hospital and she's septic. And I'm like, she's fucked.
Yeah.
And I just leave. I don't say that to them, but in my head, I'm like, oh, I'll get my weight.
It's a long fight for them.
And the older you are, the harder it's going to be. And the less likelihood is you're going to fight sepsis.
Right. Because you have
bad.
to.
It's really bad.
That's all your body's doing is fighting.
Yeah.
So like you had said, the toxins that these bacteria are releasing attack the lining of the blood vessels. So the blood vessels start to leak. And that's what causes that septicemia rash, which is like purple.
Almost looks like libidity.
Which can develop into large purple areas of the skin. And that's never good to see because you know that skin's not getting any nutrients or
things
oxygen.
aren't working the way they're supposed to be.
And because you're leaking blood, your body decides, what do I have to do? I'm leaking blood. I have to make clots.
Yes.
So your body starts making clots to stop the bleeding, which it's not going to do because the lining is leaking. And then the clots make it even harder to get oxygenated blood through out your body because it's now clogging up these vessels.
Right.
So your body's going crazy. It knows you're not pumping enough oxygenated blood to keep everything alive.
Doesn't know why. It just knows it's not working.
Right. It's leaking. It's clotting. It doesn't know
what the hell's going on here.
But it can't get the oxygenated blood everywhere it needs to go. So your body shunts the blood. And your body's going to shunt your blood to your heart, your lungs, your brain, your gut. It's not going to send the blood.
Sacrifice your limbs.
It's not going to send your blood to the skin or your limbs.
Right.
You're going to get cool. Your limbs are going to get no circulation. Your extremities and your skin are your least of your worries. If your extremities and skin are not getting blood, they are not getting oxygen. Without oxygen, you die. So
you see your body do this when it's frostbite. You see your body do this in heat exhaustion. You're not sweating anymore. You're cooling because it's shunting, trying to keep everything
alive.
It's amazing what your body does to save itself.
Right. And it's saying, I don't give a shit about my hands.
I
need my brain to work.
I can just be a torso. I'll be fine.
Right. In bacterial meningitis, it is pretty commonplace to see blackened fingers, toes, hands, feet, and even arms and legs. Because your body is you're just trying to stay alive. It's sacrificing everything else. So they treat you for septicemia immediately. You have IV antibiotics. You have a central line that goes right to your heart. It pumps that antibiotics right through you to stop the septicemia. once you're stable and the septicemia is under control, then they will deal with
your limbs.
Your limbs.
Which is usually not the result you want them to do.
Right. And the tissue damage. Mm-hmm. So it depends on the amount of tissue damage. It depends on the area of the tissue damage. If it's just your fingertips, they can take just your fingertips. If it's just one finger, they take just one finger. They take as little tissue off as possible. They'll start with the debridement. And they do
everything
to save the limb
first. People think, oh, they just want to cut. No, they don't. They will do vascular work. They'll do all this stuff trying to reperfuse. But once your skin is black, there's no coming back.
No, it's not getting better.
Right. So whatever's black is going.
Right. But they try and they'll keep it. So it's going to be a lot of surgery. It's not going to be one. It's going to be, okay, well, her right index finger is down to the first knuckle. We'll just take it to there. And then they'll watch it for a little while. I'm like, nope, that other tissue right behind it's dead. We got to take that too. So they're going to
piece it.
They're going to piece it, but they're doing that to save as much tissue as possible. Obviously people have, you can have part of your calf removed, but the rest of your leg is still, it just depends on what tissue is damaged. You don't know till the end.
You're literally lucky to be alive.
Yeah. And they can't leave dead or dying tissue because that also releases toxins. Yes. That makes you sick and kills you. So it's a fine line they have to walk.
Lose situation.
Right. After amputations, obviously you'll need, even if it's just your pinky, you need PT, you need OT, you need splints, you need, you get contractures when your tissue has died because you're holding it in positions that's comfortable, but that's not best for your limb.
Right.
If you're holding your elbow at a 90-degree angle
and then you can't
forever, you can't straighten it out. Right. So you have splints, you have PT, you have OT, you have to do it at home. This happens a lot to little kids. And then they go home and it hurts, I don't want to do it. You have to do it with them, and you have to come up, OT can give you games to do with them so they can move it a certain way, but you have to do the work so you're not
crippled. They had a girl who had bacterial meningitis. She lost both arms and both legs, and she was swimming the English Channel.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Obviously there's reconstructive surgery you can have, there's prosthetics available. There's a lot of work now with limbs.
Yes. And even the plastic surgeons come in, and as much as I love to shit on them, reconstructive plastic surgeons, they're amazing how they can fix deformities and make you feel more comfortable and more normal. Yeah. People hate to use that word. It's a word. Normal.
Yeah. My sister, when she was a teenager, knew this kid. They dared him to drink the bong water.
The pond water?
Bong. A bong. Which everybody's smoking. And, it's full of coming out of everybody's... Yep. It's... I'll give you $20 if you drink the bong water. It's probably high if you drink the bong water, but and he did it. And he got bacterial meningitis. He lost both his arms and his legs.
Oh my God.
It was awful. And I don't know why, randomly, I will think of that kid. I didn't know him, but
wow.
And I just think,
so don't drink the bong water.
Don't drink anything that's standing. It has bacteria in it. Anything
that 8 people have been sucking out of.
But it's a terrible. He's like he's alive. He lost his limbs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was awful. Awful. Just terrible.
Are you?
I have the lumbar puncture.
Okay.
And then you want to do the stories?
Yeah.
All right. So I got that information about the septicemia from meningitisnow.org.
Meningitis Now.
Mm-hmm. And then I got information about the lumbar puncture from mayoclinic.org. So a lumbar puncture is a spinal tap. It's the same thing. People call it different names. It's performed to diagnose diseases of the central nervous system. So anything of your brain or your spine.
Because your meninges are floating in fluid. There's fluid constantly going, and it's its own control.
It's a closed system.
It's a closed system. Your spinal cord and your brain have the cerebral spinal fluid floating through it, and it's nutrients. It's all kinds of stuff, and it only is in your meninges, so you can only get it through a spinal tap or getting into the head. If you're leaking it anywhere else, you have a problem.
Right. A lumbar puncture may be done to A, collect cerebrospinal fluid for lab analysis, B, measure the pressure of your cerebrospinal fluid, C, inject spinal anesthetics, chemo, or other meds, and D, inject dye for diagnostic images of the fluid's flow. So if you go like, there's not enough fluid in there, what's going on?
Or we have a leak and we don't know where it is.
Right. The info gathered from lumbar punctures, I'm going to say LPs, just to shorten it, can help diagnose, 1, serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections, including meningitis and syphilis.
Syphilis?
Yeah, you can. That's how they diagnose that. 2, subarachnoid hemorrhage. 3, certain cancers. And 4, inflammatory conditions like Guillain-Barré and multiple sclerosis.
Oh, look at that.
I didn't know that either. The risks of a spinal tap or a lumbar puncture are spinal headache. About 25% of patients will develop this headache after because of a fluid leak. It starts a couple hours to 2 days after the puncture. You may have nausea and vomiting from it. It's a severe headache, but it subsides when you're laying flat.
Right.
So that's how you usually know the difference between I have a headache
and I have an
or I have I have a spinal headache. You can also get back pain or discomfort. You can have bleeding. This is very rare. Don't not have a lumbar puncture because of it, but you can also have a brainstem herniation.
Oh, that would be pretty bad.
Very, very rare.
That would be pretty bad.
But
a brainstem herniation we talk about in our marathon episode.
Yeah.
It's when your brain comes through the hole at the base of your head where the spinal cord connects.
And
all
dies,
your life-saving
much.
part of your body, everything, it's controlled at the base of your brain. So if your base is going through the hole, you're going to die. That's a herniation.
It's a very emergent situation. Yes. So you have increased pressure within the skull if you have like a brain tumor or a space-occupying lesion, which can lead to compression of the brainstem after the CSF is removed. So you're removing that fluid, it's floating. So it makes everything push down on the brainstem. Normally, if they were thinking you had a tumor or a lesion, they're doing a CAT scan before they know it's there.
I'll be honest with you. If I have a big brain lesion, it's going to kill me. Herniate me and get it over.
Oh, God. But anyway, very, very rare. Not going to happen to somebody that's going in probably for bacterial meningitis.
Yeah, exactly. You have other problems to worry about.
Right. So, so you need an LP, right? Yeah. I can't touch my chin to my chest. I got to go get an LP.
My toes have gone black.
Yeah. Your doctor's going to ask you if you're taking any blood thinners because you don't want to push that needle through into your spine and cause bleeding into them. If you have any bleeding disorders, if you take any over-the-counters like ibuprofen, aspirin, Aleve, because those can all make you bleed. They may get an MRI or a CAT scan to make sure you don't have any serious thing going on in your brain like these tumors that I just mentioned. Then you're probably going to get changed into a hospital gown. You could leave your own clothes on. They probably have you changed, open back. You'll either lay on your side and curl up, like curl your knees into your chest, or sit and lean forward onto like a stable surface, like a table, and you drop your shoulders around your back.
Any woman who's given birth knows this position because that's how you get your epidural.
These positions flex your back and open up the spaces between your vertebrae.
Like a scared cat.
Do it like a scared cat.
That's what we used to say.
Yep.
Out your back like you're a scared cat.
I still say that now, and some of the new residents like that are doing it are like, "Oh, I've never heard that." I'm like, what?
Are you kidding me?
It's like an angry cat.
Haven't worked
I say an angry cat because I hate them, but I don't say scared.
Cat.
I say, arch your back like an angry cat. Like, oh, all right. You know what that looks like. You can do it.
Like your Halloween cat.
Yeah, so that opens up the spaces so they can get the needle in easier. So your lower back
is always ask for the attending to do it.
Yeah. Your lower back is then washed, cleansed with a prep stick or an iodine, a betadine. And then a sterile drape is placed on your back. This is done sterilely. You don't want to invite any infection into the...
Come on in! We're having a party in here. Let's go.
The doctor will then inject like a Novocaine into your lower back to numb the puncture site. It's just a small site. It will sting for a few seconds. It's a pinch and a burn.
It's pinch and a burn. Sting. Oh, no, we're not supposed to say sting anymore.
You can't say burn.
It's spicy. We're not supposed to use negative connotations.
I'm like, it stings. It doesn't feel...
Well, I said that to him. I'm like, don't tell me it's spicy. It hurts.
Okay.
I don't lie to my patients.
No.
This is going to hurt.
Yeah.
But it'll be over in a minute. Yeah.
And then, it's like, when they give the propofol when you're going to sleep, it burns.
Yes.
Have you had it?
I have.
It burns.
But you know what? I'm the kind of person, I was also in excruciating labor. I internalize. I'm like, and then you have other patients who are like, oh my God. No. I'm like, you're going to be asleep in 10 seconds.
I didn't, but I was 15 having surgery. I go to sleep. They don't tell me this is going to burn. My arms are out on the cross. I can remember this vividly. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, inside my arm is on fire. And I was like, oh my God, it's up in my chest.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, I'm on fire. Like,
and now I'm asleep.
Right. And then you're asleep. But that's what I remember thinking, like, why do I feel like
Just
my inside is
warn
on
me.
fire? Tell me I'm going to feel like my insides are on fire.
It's going to be spicy.
Yeah, it's
I
not
wanna
spicy.
slap them when
It's
they
going to
say
feel
that.
warm.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't feel warm. It feels like
it's
I'm
like
literally
on fire
from
feels
the
like
inside.
you're ripping my veins out. Yep.
Yeah. So, but anyways, it's warm and spicy.
Yeah.
But it stings like a bee.
But it's over in like literally seconds.
Yes.
You can't even count to 10 and it's over.
And anybody that's got Novocaine knows. It burns like hell for 10 seconds and then it's numb.
Then it's bliss.
Yeah. So then a thin hollow needle is then inserted between two lumbar vertebrae through the dura, which is the spinal membrane, and into the spinal canal. You will feel pressure during this. You should not feel pain. You will feel them pushing because they're literally pushing. You really have to push. The CSF pressure is measured. A small amount is taken out of the small amount of the fluid's taken out, and then they measure the pressure again to make sure everything's even. If they need to, they will inject fluid or meds into the spinal canal to adjust the pressure. The needle's then removed and they bandage the puncture site. Takes about 30-45 minutes. To find the space,
It's
to
hard
get the space
trying
right.
to get between your vertebrae to get in there, and it's not always easy.
The prep, the drape, everything adds up. Don't participate in strenuous activities for the rest of the day. Take Tylenol for a headache or a backache, and that's about it.
And done.
One
and done.
But they'll take that fluid, analyze it in the
tells
lab.
me a ton of information.
It gives you everything you need to know. They'll know what you have,
How to treat it.
You need it done. I had an LP done when I had a migraine one time when I was like 19 or 20. I had a severe migraine. Like, I passed out. I was done. I had to go to the hospital, and they were like, we have to do an LP because I think they were probably meningitis or something. Or maybe something else is going on up my brain and they had to do it. It was not bad. Literally, I laid on my side. They did it, took the fluid out, done. Like,
so what the fuck was wrong with it?
It was just a severe migraine. Like a severe migraine, but they wanted to, make sure, but it's really not bad.
I know. Well, my epidural, it was the best thing ever. If I could have had the epidural from day one, I would have.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk a couple of people who have been through bacterial meningitis and survived, and then I'm going to give you 7 tips for staying healthy in college, Laura. And very basic common sense, but that's beside the point. Okay, we're going to talk about Carl Bucher. I'm sure I'm not saying that right, but that's how I'm saying it. Buher. Bucher. Okay. So it's an autumn day, 2003, and he comes down with a high fever, headache, nausea, vomiting, and exhaustion. His parents thought he had his flu because his football friends all had the flu.
Oh.
But when he became disoriented and he developed purple splotches all over his face and arms, they bring him to the doctor. I don't know if I would have waited to the point he got purple. I don't know. Maybe I would have because I'm always like,
because you have the flu.
Yeah.
Oh, they all have the flu. You have the flu.
So he had contracted meningococcal disease, bacterial meningitis, a rare but potentially deadly infection. It was so aggressive that he had to be airlifted to the Children's Hospital in Seattle, and en route, he coded 3 times. Once hospitalized, they put him in a drug-induced coma for 4 weeks and treated him with 25 different medications to keep him going. And the high doses of antibiotics, they're not enough. The fast-moving infection resulted in gangrene, and he lost both his feet and 3 fingers.
Oh.
In 5 months, he went from a strapping 185-pound football player to a 119-pound teenager.
Oh.
Do you know what's sad, Laura, is he, at this time, is 4 years younger than my son, who's 7. He's 3 years younger. And my son is 119 pounds.
Your son is very skinny.
This kid was 185 at 14. And my son is 119. Okay. The 7 operations for skin grafting and amputation were only the beginning for poor Carl. He had PT for years afterwards. But despite the hardships, his parents are not bitter. They want people to look on the experience not as a bad thing, but as a good thing. Before they got sick, they weren't aware of the vaccine that presented. It was able to prevent the disease. They were not aware of the vaccine able to prevent the disease, nor the... they didn't know about a vaccine. They didn't even know about bacterial meningitis.
Oh.
Teens and young adults are at an increased risk for meningitis. 15% of all cases reported to the U.S. are from this age group.
Yep.
Certain lifestyle factors, as college dormitories, irregular sleep patterns, are thought to be part of the disease. Okay. So, today, Carl and his family are all very active in promoting vaccines and awareness of the disease on college campuses. During his treatment, his father became an internet research expert on facts and everything about the disease. The mother goes to the advisory committee on immunization practices recommended by and she goes on and speaks about how important it is to have the vaccine, the booster at age 16 and 5 doses. So you get the first dose at 11, 5 years, like you said.
Yeah.
She just reiterates all of this stuff. So Carl says that his 5-month hospital stay, he would wake up every morning saying, "Why am I still alive?" He was tired of it and he didn't like living like that.
Yeah.
He felt like he had to persevere. He had an image in his mind of what he was and wanted to be. His physical therapy continued through most of high school, and he says it was a long haul and everything took longer than he thought. The hardest part was learning how to walk again on no feet. With foot prosthesis, he's learned a whole new pattern of how to walk. He credits his family's support. The biggest influence was definitely my mom. She was there every single day, which as I would be as well. Today, he is on track to get his bachelor's degree in civil engineering at Gonzaga University in Spokane, Washington. And in 2011, he plans to start a career designing roads and bridges.
Nice.
He had to adapt to the 3-finger loss to his hands. He had to learn to type and write differently. He said, "Can I never learn how to write again?"
No. Any of that. Just walking. Yep. It's like it must be so frustrating because like, I know how to do this.
Right.
And now I can't do it. Like,
and now I have to start all over again.
So frustrating.
He had to learn to eat differently. He says learning to walk with the prostheses was the biggest challenge. He's not playing sports as he used to, which I would think would be difficult with... Maybe he could do some curling.
Yeah.
He could do the sweeping.
Yeah.
He said the experience of having meningitis was a turning point for him. I realized what's important in life. It's important to be true to who you are. Stick to your morals. That's all anyone can ask. I mean, that's pretty impressive for that age.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have another lovely young lady. I'm sorry, I'm not... You know what? It's the end of the summer. We're tired. We're just not where we should be, okay? So forgive us, all right? So we're going to talk about Kyla Winters. So she says that a lot of times when she's on the street, because she's a bilateral amputee, people are thanking her for her service in the military.
Oh my God.
And she's like, they start prayer circles around her without warning. And she said they assumed that her injuries were unavoidable and that there was a bomb blast or a rare genetic disorder that took all of her fingers and her legs below the knee.
Oh.
But it wasn't. It was meningitis, bacterial meningitis that poisoned her blood and prompted surgeons to amputate in 2009. Again, before 2015. Had she received, she says, the infection and the aftermath were preventable. Had she received the vaccine that is routinely recommended for college-age kids, she likely would not be faced with so much pain in every door she opens and every step she takes. Okay. I'm trying to see where she hopes that her story, for those who are healthy, they will see the risks of foregoing vaccinations in rare conditions. Okay. So I'm trying to find out. All right, so she was... I'm sorry, guys. I know you're going to kill me because I don't know where I'm starting here. All right, so she had friends over. And she said, when I realized what strain I got, and when I realized it was meningitis C, I was so overwhelmed with grief that I could have prevented it. I could have had the vaccine, she says. Her saga began with a stiff neck after a night on the town with friends. That painful stiffness, which started overnight, had spread through her body by morning. 2 of her girlfriends, thank God, had slept over, and they called 911, and the ambulance took her to Scripps Mercy Hospital. She doesn't remember the ride, and she doesn't remember the next 2 months.
Oh my God.
Many others do, including Dr. Gonzalo Balloon Landa, the infectious disease specialist, called in that morning on a report of a woman who had flu-like symptoms and severe pain, but whose tests had come back negative. By the time he arrived, she had begun to develop a full body rash.
Oof.
She was fucked. Looking at that rash, the doctor was highly suspicious that Kyla had meningococcal disease. Just from looking at her, he knew it was going to be a bad case. The ER doctors administered a dose of broad-spectrum antibiotics shortly after her arrival. Studies showed quick receipts of the antibiotic is a key factor in determining who decide. So I guess on how quickly she accepts these antibiotics, it's going to decide on if you're going to survive or not. So the next thing she knows, boom, the bottom had fallen out from under her. She had to be intubated. Her blood pressure went to 0. She had to be put on an enormous amount of life-sustaining medications. Her liver failed. Her kidneys failed. Her heart failed. Everything failed. So she didn't like the antibiotics too much. That's how much of the... And That's how quick it spread.
multiplies.
That's how quick. She went one night out with her friends. By the next night, she is intubated and her entire body's an organ failure. It goes into what the meningitis. Okay. At the severity of her infection increased and damaged her heart, her body's ability to keep her extremities supplied with oxygenated blood reduced. So like Laura said, her body's going to worry about her heart. Does not give a shit about your limbs. So the tissue became so damaged, she could only have amputations. She was in the ICU for 6 weeks. Ugh. Heavy pain medication kept her from being fully aware of exactly what was happening. She was not involved in the decision to amputate. But they have to.
Right, like I said, if you leave the dead limb on, it then releases toxins that will also kill you.
Right. You have to
get
also
rid of it.
keep these people unconscious. You can't be awake during this.
No.
Which is, it's just awful. Her identical twin, Lyanna Thompson, was in late pregnancy at the time, and she stayed by her twin's side. She was the one that was helping the doctors, like, yes, you need to amputate. That's another thing. Make sure your healthcare proxy is competent. When it was time for discharge, her sister decided to move her family to San Diego where she could help her twin recuperate. No. Twins is something. We should talk about twins someday. Yeah. So people sometimes ask her how she found the brave. Oh, so her sister, because everything fell down, wound up donating a kidney to the twin.
Wow.
She said, I felt like I was saving my own life. The thought of her not being in my world was just too devastating. So it was more important for her sister to gain independence over she's like, you're going to get this transplant and that's it. So you see pictures of her sister learning to run on prosthetic legs, and she's fully recovered, but no one sees, and they think she's fully recovered, but no one sees her trying to get dressed in the morning or sitting down on the floor in the grocery store when her legs just hurt. That would be me. I'm like, fuck it, no. I'm done. Give me a wheelchair. What took an hour, like getting ready in the morning, today takes her 2 to 3 hours. Oh, though she's made progress in walking and manipulating the world around her, her life remains too unpredictable to hold down a full-time job. She said sometimes the pain is sudden and sharp, located in her missing foot or calf, and other times it's more of a burning sensation. Living with so many amputations is a full-time job, just trying to be independent. Yeah. What's interesting today is they're starting to do stuff with the... so when you amputate, they just literally amputate off the nerve. They now take the ends of those nerves and they're putting them somewhere so the nerves recognize it and you don't feel the pain as much.
Right.
Which the stuff people are doing in medicine is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So these are two people that, had they been vaccinated, and I'm not criticizing them because, again, it's a newer vaccine that people are taking.
Right, like when we were...
Never heard of it.
There wasn't one, and then I think it gradually, but it was like, it wasn't like in the vaccine.
Right. So I'm not criticizing anybody because I don't think people were aware there is a meningococcal vaccine for these types of things that will kill your kids. Get them. And while you're at it, get the COVID vaccine. Okay, so that was Carl. We have 7 tips for healthy on how to prevent your kid going off to college, mucking it up with all the guys at the frat, and then getting bacterial meningitis, or drinking bong water and getting bacterial meningitis. Number one tip, Laura.
Wash your hands?
Get vaccinated.
Oh, get vaccinated.
Fucking get vaccinated, okay? Fucking get vaccinated. Okay.
Just get it for them. They're going. You don't know. They're not clean. Just do it.
Right. Yeah. So lesson number 2, clean your living space.
They're not
Especially now. Clean your living space. Keep all of your shit, your toothbrush, your face stuff, everything that you're going to put in your mouth when you clean yourself at night, keep it separate away from everybody else. Take it out to brush your teeth, put it back away. Lysol, bleach wipes. Yes.
Like that caddy. Yes. Everybody has it. Like your shit. You have to clean the caddy. Yes. Like, I swear to God, my mother still makes fun of, like, she didn't, like, live with other people's dirt. I'm like, I did it. I couldn't live with other people's dirt. It was disgusting.
It's disgusting. So clean the living space. Get into the good habits of washing everything down. Doorknobs, keyboards, the mouse.
High touch areas.
High touch areas. During winter, crack the windows in the dorm rooms and get fresh air in there. I mean, most of these dorm rooms are 1,000,000 degrees all fucking year. You're not paying the heat. Crack the goddamn windows and get some fresh air in there. Get dust, the dander, and all that. I mean, you're shedding while you're sleeping. All the goddamn. Change your sheets.
Other people's dirt.
Yes. So you're sharing dander with the 4 other people in the room. Change the fucking sheets. Dust the room every week. Shake your little stupid shag rugs out.
Yeah.
Shake out your
all those pillows on your bed.
Yes.
I see these beds these girls have. They have 45 pillows that are all that
It would look
fuzzy
like I was in the
material.
Marine Corps. It'd be tucked in, bouncing a quarter, nothing on my bed but a goddamn blanket and a pillow that'd be washed every week. All right?
All that
No.
shit is just going to hold on to everybody else's skin
all
cells
that cute
and
little
whatever the hell.
stuffed animals and your little comforters and your body pillows.
I mean, looks adorable.
But
Trap
they're-
for all this
They-
bacteria.
all that dander that your roommate's shedding while you're sleeping.
and all that hair.
Yep, it's getting
Yeah.
caught up in there.
Ugh.
So just clean it. And other sneezing-inducing particles that might be in that room. It can be... What does it say? It's although it can be cringing to spend hard-earned money on things like basic cleaning supplies and a vacuum, the necessities will pay dividends in keeping your living space clean and healthy.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess I'm not really upset. I didn't live in a dorm.
Oh God, it was other people's dirt. I can't live in other people's dirt.
All this is emphasizing is my daughter probably will never go off to college either. Okay, get 8 hours of sleep every night, you dumbass dorm kids who are up. I'm going to stay an all-nighter with my no-dos so I can study for my biology exam tomorrow. It's not that hard to get through college. I fucking did it. All right, I did it working.
You can do it.
I
too.
did it working what I'm doing now. Like,
Yeah.
you can do it. You don't need to pull an all-nighter. How about if you just stay on track instead of drinking every fucking night? You won't have to worry that you
just
you
do
didn't
like
study.
a half-hour day in each class.
So
Like,
it says, stay active throughout the day, though and exercise, walk, and play a sport.
Mhm.
Turn off all screens 1 hour before going to bed
Yes.
so that you're not zoning out to the screen at night. Set an alarm at night to notify you when it's time to get ready for bed. Nobody's going to do this, but I'm going to tell you it anyway.
I have a thing, and it's that like it's on my phone because I can't sleep, so it goes like that baby song. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
It literally plays that at like midnight. Like Laura,
Laura, shut
start
it
going to bed.
Like,
Like
well, okay, put your little baby lullabies
Yeah.
on to make you go to bed. Minimize your intake of caffeine and stimulants during the evening and afternoon hours. So stop drinking your 3 shots of espresso somewhere probably around 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
at least.
Read, draw, meditate, do yoga, or experiment with other ways to help turn off your mind as you approach sleep, all without your digital screens.
Mm-hmm.
For most college students, there is no excuse for not getting 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep each night. They are right. I'm sorry, but there isn't any excuse. Especially some of them don't even have classes till 11 o'clock in the morning. It all comes down to being disciplined, staying healthy, and other aspects of your life, and knowing when it's time to unplug and check out.
Mm-hmm.
These kids are away from home for the first time, and they just freaking go hog wild.
Yeah.
So exercise and keep active, because if you're exercising during the day, you're going to get tired at night,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not going to put on that freshman 15. Eat whole food meals and snacks. All right, look it. I know these kids are never going to do that. Your parents paid $4,000 for the meal plan. Go and get your dinners. Eat right. Don't have 400 packs of ramen noodles in your dorm like I did. I didn't have a dorm, but when I lived away, I lived off of ramen. Have a party strategy. Social gatherings, sporting events, dance parties, and other forms of nightlife make up for the liberations that come along with being a college student.
Mm-hmm.
Going out on the weekends can both be fun and entertaining and give you bacterial meningitis. I added that, thank you. But there's often a turning point of when it can be unhealthy. So call it a night 11 instead of 1.
Oh,
That's never
not
happening.
gonna happen.
That is never happening.
No, don't do that.
Drinking more water to stay hydrated. All I said to my kids was like, look, don't have 4 drinks in an hour. Okay, just space them out.
Yeah.
And I know none of them are going to be water. Be smart about who you socialize with and use your intuition to avoid situations where you feel unsafe or that situations that are also unlit. The impact of staying out late itself can have negative repercussions on sleep, health, mental clarity, and overall energy. So immunity. Like if you're exhausted, you're going to pick up every goddamn disease that everybody around you has. So have a party strategy. All right. Stay hydrated. Drink your water. If you're not going to drink it at night, drink it all day.
Yeah.
And I think that is all I have to say. So just be safe. Your kids are all going off to college, and teach them how to be safe. Teach them how to be smart. They're making decisions on their own for the first time in their lives. Usually, teach them how to make smart decisions.
Yeah.
And get them vaccinated. In case I haven't said it before, get them vaccinated.
They're not going to make smart decisions, most of them.
Right.
So
Hopefully they don't
if
make
you get them the vaccine, at
deadly
least
ones.
they'll have a little
backup
coverage.
Yeah.
So when they make the poor decision, hopefully they
won't
get
lose their arms
sick.
and legs
Right.
over it. So on that note, don't let them come home. They have to stick it out till December. If they call
Make them cry.
Make them cry. It's the best thing you're going to do for them. Don't let them come home. They have to finish at least 1 semester. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. Words of wisdom, some scissors and scrubs.
Enjoy the fall weather. Leaves should be churning.
Pumpkin's out.
Apple crisp is coming.
Pumpkin is out.
I know. I can't wait. All right. So enjoy, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Like, subscribe, rate, and review the Scissors and Scrubs podcast on whatever podcast app you listen to us on. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Scissors and Scrubs. And email us any of your stories or thoughts to scissorsnscrubs@gmail.com.